Between the baby boomers and the millennials, there's a generation that often gets forgotten. They're not the loudest, not the most talked about, and not always the most visible. But somehow, behind their silence, they might be the strongest of them all.
They are Generation X. Born between 1965 and 1980, they grew up during a time of massive change. From an analog world to a digital one, from stability to uncertainty. And without even realizing it, those changes shaped how they think and how they live their lives. Generation X is often described as independent. Many of them grew up without constant supervision, not because their parents didn't care, but because life demanded it. Their parents were busy working, divorce rates were rising, and they had to learn how to take care of themselves early on. They came home alone, ate alone, handled problems on their own, and from that, a belief was formed. If I don't take care of my life, then who will? That belief made them strong, but also made it hard for them to rely on others. They also became naturally skeptical, because they lived through a time when trust started to break down. Political scandals, economic crises, broken promises. All of it taught them one thing: don't trust too easily. They're not easily impressed, they don't believe blindly, and they rarely expect too much. On one hand, this makes them realistic, but on the other, it can make them seem distant and hard to open up. If there's one defining trait of Generation X, it's their ability to survive. They went through major shifts, economic downturns, technological revolutions, and constant pressure to adapt. They weren't raised to find their passion right away. They were raised to endure. Hard work wasn't a choice, it was a necessity, and because of that, many of them became relentless workers, not because they love working, but because they fear losing control over their lives. Unlike younger generations who are more expressive, Generation X learned to keep their emotions inside. They weren't taught to talk about feelings. They weren't taught to process them. They were taught to be strong, to stay quiet, and to keep moving forward. As a result, many of them appear fine on the outside while carrying a lot within. They rarely complain, but that doesn't mean they're not tired. Perhaps the hardest part of being Generation X is always being in the middle. They have to understand their more traditional parents and their much more modern children. They become the bridge, but often they don't have a place where they truly feel heard. They're too old to fully follow trends, but too young to step away completely. And in that space, many of them feel alone.
Generation X may not be the loudest, not the most visible, and not the most talked about, but they are the ones who build without needing recognition, who endure without complaining, and who keep moving forward even when they're exhausted. So if you know someone from Generation X, maybe your parents or someone close to you, remember this: they may not say much, but they've been through more than you could ever imagine.